My name is Romeo Kinsler. I work as Chief Data Scientist for the IBM Watson IoT business unit in a worldwide role. And in the context of IoT, I started to learn about blockchain, and I was a Bitcoin enthusiast for many years. And so if you want to invest in cryptocurrencies, I can only advise do it with money you don't need, because it's highly volatile and you never know what will happen. So one problem I see with Bitcoin is the mining itself. The mining algorithm which is used in Bitcoin is SHA-256 algorithm, and that is highly acceleratable using ASICs. ASICs is a very special type of microprocessor, and the reason why this is done is because if you own a lot of the hashing power, you basically can generate coins and money out of that. The thing is, now all the mining power has been concentrated in only 2 or 3 mining pools, and Bitcoin is attackable. So if you own more than 50% of the overall worldwide mining power, then you can basically manipulate the Bitcoin blockchain. You cannot create false transaction, that's not possible, but you can basically destabilize the trust in Bitcoin. So for whatever reason, if somebody has just enough money and wants to destroy Bitcoin, it's technically possible very easily. It's just the amount of hashing power you own for a couple of hours. Then you can basically destroy Bitcoin because you manipulate the blockchain in a way that it loses trust. Okay? Every blockchain technology based on this so-called proof of work technology is affected. This holds also for all the others like Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, Monero, and whatever is on the market at the moment. There is one thing what happened to Ethereum. So Ethereum, as you might have heard, has been split. And the reason for that was because of a bug in a smart contract running on top of Ethereum that was called the DAO. And it is important to notice that Ethereum itself didn't have any issue, only an application running on top of the blockchain had this issue. And that caused the Ethereum Foundation to actually change the Ethereum blockchain and reverse transactions which have been inserted by fraudulent people. And I thought that everybody in the world will just update to the new version of the peer technology. But what actually happened is that around 10% of all the peer-to-peer nodes, they didn't upgrade. So a second blockchain has been formed, which is called Ethereum Classic. And whenever you update a core part of your technology, then you are risking a split. Okay, and that was happening for Ethereum. And now, interestingly, 1st of August, same will happen for Bitcoin. So there is a major upgrade happening at the 1st of August in Bitcoin. And there's also the risk that there will be a split. So I think most likely just a couple of days before 1st of August, people will invest all their Bitcoin money into Ethereum, because that's the second largest currency, and will try to reinvest in Bitcoin after 1st of August when they see how it forms, if a split forms and how large this split is. Another thing what is happening currently in Ethereum is the so-called Phase 4 Ice Age. So as you might know, there is a difficulty involved in proof of work. So the difficulty increases. It's harder and harder to mine and to find blocks and to generate money by mining. And normally that's due to the increase of number of people who are mining, so the increase in the worldwide hashing power in a certain peer-to-peer network. But in the special case of Ethereum, it was built in that the difficulty grows exponentially, and it will grow that high that eventually it will be impossible to create any future blocks using mining. And the reason behind that is that Ethereum wants to switch from proof of work to proof of stake. So proof of stake is another consensus algorithm which actually allows you to do the consensus without wasting energy and wasting compute power, which is a pretty interesting concept. If you want to see how this already turns out on the market, there is a currency called Peercoin, which uses a combination of proof of work and proof of stake. And it has not grown so high, but I think the rates are more stable. And Ethereum will completely switch to proof of work. The algorithm called there is called Casper. You can search for Casper, and we will see how this turns out. But the thing is, there's always the risk for another split, because nobody can be forced to upgrade. And the thing is, if you don't upgrade and you are on Ethereum, then eventually you cannot use the blockchain anymore because of the ice age. It will be impossible to create blocks. So what will happen is that those people who don't want to upgrade, they will move their money to Ethereum Classic or any other competition technology. I think one thing which will happen is 1st of August, Ethereum will raise. And the other thing, whenever Ethereum will upgrade to phase 4, a lot of money goes to Ethereum Classic. So that's my prediction there. Then finally, I want to talk about one technology which is complementary to all those cryptocurrency-based blockchains, which is Hyperledger, where also IBM has a huge stake in it. And there are consensus algorithms which are better suited for business. So there is currently no currency mined on Hyperledger, but it's a blockchain technology which allows to create blockchains specifically for enterprise projects. And that's also a very interesting thing, because the consensus algorithm is pluggable and can be changed anytime, whereas in traditional cryptocurrency blockchains, always a fork is needed and you always have the risk that the currency splits into two separate ones. And maybe one last thing I want to give you as an advice. A split is not necessarily a bad thing for the one who owns the currency, because of course split is weakening the currency, so normally the rate goes down. But what also happens is your funds are protected on the blockchain using a private key. That's how wallets are working. And if the blockchain splits, you are owning the private key for your funds on both blockchains. So whenever Ethereum was split into two blockchains, the people who had funds on Ethereum, they now have the same funds on Ethereum and on Ethereum Classic, and they can basically spend it 2 times. So that's another advice I can give you. Okay, so new cryptocurrencies are popping up in the market on a weekly basis, and it's hard to tell whether you should invest or not. So I think it's not a very good idea to invest a lot of money in a cryptocurrency which you don't know. So the most stable ones are Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, Monero, maybe the top 10. You see that market cap list. What are, in my opinion, the differentiators when assessing a cryptocurrency? So I think there are 2 ways of doing it. So the question is, where do the coins come from initially? Okay, and either they can be mined, or what also happens is, if people create a new cryptocurrency, there is something called like an initial coin offering. So for example, you can buy shares of that new coin using Bitcoin or another currency, and once that coin is released, then you get a certain number of that new coins, and basically the developer takes that money for his work. That's a good idea, because then you don't need this proof of work, but it's not that decentralized. So you are depending a bit on the developer. So I'm a big fan of decentralization and letting the network control things. There is a crypto coin protocol which is called CryptoNight, and it's called CryptoNode, and the algorithm is called CryptoNight, which is also used by Monero, for example. That's the largest currency which is using the CryptoNight hashing algorithm. And the advantage is that it is a memory hard problem, so you need a lot of memory. You cannot create these fast processors which are called ASICs, which was the case for Bitcoin. And also it's not so easy to run them on a GPU card only, which is the case for Ethereum, because they are using some specific machine code instructions which are only present on the CPUs. So that's the AES-256 algorithm, which runs very fast on a microprocessor because it's implemented there in silico. So that's a recommendation. I think CryptoNight is a very good hashing algorithm. There are lists of algorithms present which tell you what the factor of acceleration is. So if the factor of acceleration is 1 on a GPU card, it doesn't make sense to use GPU cards. And if it needs a lot of main memory and a high speed of main memory, you cannot parallelize it on ASICs. So that's maybe a recommendation. Check the proof of work protocol, and if it is not proof of work, if it's an initial coin offering, please make sure if you can trust the company or the guy making this offering, and only then invest, and also don't invest too much.